Hi everyone, this is Deborah and today I'm going to be talking firstly about storage. What I've done is I have replaced the storage that sits here. Now this is a kitchen unit that I had in the kitchen before I replaced it, and I brought it down and put it in the craft room, and the old bench sits on top of it, and it's also got a drawer section on the other end. If I just pan around you can see that there. So what I've done is I had in here some cropper hopper storage, the plastic ones that hold the 12 by 12 paper. I wasn't happy with that. I'd had those for years and years and I didn't like that they, didn't look as nice as what these do. I like things to look nice and organised. Now the cropper hopper, I also didn't have very many of them, and it was really hard to get things out. And I'll just grab one and show you what I mean by that. So this is the cropper hopper 12 by 12 paper storage. You can see there, and it fitted in here on the shelf. So although it did fit, it came right up to the top of the shelf when it was sitting there, to the top part. And so to get things out once that's in the space, I have to reach in, and every time I pulled the 12 by 12 papers up, I would crease the top of them. Now this is difficult to get out because it doesn't have any handles, just the little hole on it. So what I thought I'd do is replace the lot, because I only have half a dozen of those cropper hopper ones. I found these on a Facebook group that I belong to, and it actually said that they were in the Container Store, was where you could get them in the US. So if you're in the US and you're looking for them, they are in the Container Store. And of course we don't have a Container Store here in Australia. So I started searching and looking at pictures of images on Google just for containers, plastic containers, and I stumbled across them. I actually found them at Howard's Storage World. There's a Howard's probably 10 minutes from where I live, so that was good. And the lady was really, really helpful. I took my measurements. Now this shelf that I've got here, and I've got exactly the same on the bottom. So this is 177 centimetres long and 52 centimetres deep. Now I do have the measurements to show you what these sizes of these containers are. Now I'm going to tell you in centimetres because that's what it is on the website, and I'll show you the picture from the website at the end. So I have narrow and wide. They do make an extra wide. Now this is the narrow, this one here. And then that's a narrow, and the next one is the wide, and the next one's a narrow, and the next one's a wide. So there's not that much difference, but I obviously bought them to fit along the shelf so that they fitted perfectly. I was really lucky I got a combination that fitted. So the narrow is 13.8 centimetres wide, 33.10 in depth, and 24.5 in height. And that's the other thing that I like about them. I don't like where IKEA has their Alex drawers and they're not all the same height. It really bugs me that I can't have my Alex drawers all lining up nicely. So I was really pleased to see the only thing that they've changed on these is the width of them. So the depth and the height are the same consistently through each of the three sizes. I haven't written down the size of the extra wide because I didn't buy those. But for me, I was able to come up with a combination that almost fits exactly across the width. We tried various combinations. Sometimes I was a centimetre larger or a centimetre smaller, but in the end we managed to get that fitted exactly across. Now the other thing I did, because these are only 24.5 centimetres deep, and you can see that here, try and get that for you. Actually I'll pop it up on the table. So I've just popped this up on the table so you can see that is 24.5 centimetres long. I really like that it's got this dip on both the sides. It also has a really sturdy handle at both the front and the back. So I think that that's really great to have both of those. And because it's only 24.5 centimetres long, my shelf is 52 centimetres long. And what I was able to do, again, that fit absolutely perfectly, is at the back, and I'll just grab this one out so you can see, they're really easy to take out and put back in as well if you need to. So this is another one of the small ones. Now I haven't finished going through each of the bins. All I did was switch it over and add some more stuff that had been hiding and hanging around my craft room. One of the things I have is another one of the Rascol cards, and that was completely full of all of these papers that are here in this one and another one. So I changed them over into these and emptied the Rascol cart. I'm actually giving that to my husband for his train room when he gets it up and running. So at the back of the shelf, I was able to put 2 containers, and these are the wide containers. So they're the same length and same width as the ones that I have at the front. And I turned them this way, and 2 of them fit perfect. If I push that up against the other one that's sitting that you can see up the back there, which is here, you can see I've got a little bit of space here. That's maybe 8 centimeters. You can also see where I took the hardware for the door off here, but never mind. So that is a tiny little bit of storage up there, and I'm happy to have that and leave it, because I can then slide this one along when I want to get the other one out there. You can store 12 by 12 paper in them. So here it is here. That is just my old 12 by 12 paper. I've got a bunch of white, some black, and a few of the pattern paper sheets, and they're really, really old, but I still keep them. I use them for testing things with. I do use them occasionally in my work, but mainly they're just my papers to test things with, or to cut a template or something like that out of. And they fit fine in that. The other thing that I really like about them is they have a high side, and because of that high side, you don't have to worry about things falling out. Often the containers might have holes in the side, or the side might not come up really high. So even though they're 24.5 centimeters high, this part of it, that's probably another, maybe 5 centimeters. So that's got to be a good 19 or 20 centimeters high on the edge here. So things aren't going to fall out of them, which I really appreciate. So on each shelf, I have the same number of containers. I have, of the ones that are called wide, which are these ones, I have 4. I have 2 at the front, and then I have 2 up the back there. And I've got 3 of the ones they call narrow, and that fit perfectly. So if you've got a shelf, you may be able to find a combination for your shelf that fits really well. Now the other thing I've stored in them that you can see down here are books. So I've got lots of books stored in them. These are books for junk journaling. I've also stored the covers that I have for junk journaling, and they are tucked way up the back. Some of the books I've just stacked like this, so they were able to fit in terms of the side to side width. And then others, like this one, that wouldn't fit in that configuration. So what I did was I put some that are normally, and then I put some on the side. And you can see back there, I've got some other things that are sitting in those ones. As I said, I've not gone through them all yet and found out what I wanted in each one. I just really needed to clear up a couple of spots, including these 2 shelves that had all sorts of weird things in them. At the same time, I did a big cleanup and I got rid of a whole heap of stuff that I thought I'm really never going to use. Like in a lot of the pages that I had, the scrapbooking papers, they were bent from being in the cropper hopper, or they'd been, they'd fallen out and they were tucked way up the back of the shelf. And so I got rid of all that sort of rubbish as well while I was at it. So it was a bit of a good start to the cleanup, which I find in my craft room seems to be never ending. So in terms of my new storage, I'm really happy. It looks really pleasing to the eye. If I step back a bit and just show you, when I look across the room now, I find that that's a much nicer view, because I don't like mess and disorganisation. Although that's not to say that I don't get messy. I do get messy, but I like to be organised. I find that's one aspect of being a crafter that I really love, is the organisational side of it. So I'm going to now, I'll throw up a picture that shows you them at Howard's Storage World. The price of them is around, I think it's around the $12 or $13, $14, and weren't that expensive. So I've got 6 of the narrow ones, and I have 8 of the wide ones, and I think all up that was around $175. Now I'm talking in Australian dollars. I think that that's pretty good to completely fit out 2 shelves with storage that I really like, that can hold lots and lots of stuff for me. So I'll throw that up and you can have a look at that and just go to Howard's Storage World. I'm in no way affiliated with them. I get nothing for showing you this at all. This is just something I thought I'd show you because I found it and I love it. And then I've got the project coming up for you now as well. Now I'm going to show you how to make this. So this is just a very rough draft, and I saw this on Tim Holtz's new ideology product that he did, his video, and I thought, well, why not? So I went and looked at a number of sites to see how I might make it. Didn't even know what it was called. Apparently it's called an infinity card, and I've done a rough draft and it's pretty easy. So I thought, first of all, I'll show you how to make it, and then perhaps I'll make like a proper one. This is just some old paper that I own, just some old scrapbook paper, and I've cut it up. Now I have cut mine into 3 by 6 inch lengths, and you'll need 4 of them if you're looking to make it. And as I said, I've just done that one, and that was pretty easy, so why not do another one and show you. Now what you need to do is make sure that these will turn, because as I turned that one, I then had to burnish it because I hadn't burnished every score line properly. So after you've cut your 4 pieces that are 6 inches by 3 inches, you then score them at 1.5 and 4.5 inches. So basically you're creating a 3-inch square with each of them. So just one more to go and we'll get that done. And if you haven't watched Tim's ideology range that he's just bought out, or is coming very, very soon, then you should go, particularly if you're like me and you love Tim, go have a look. And in particular, the paper dolls. Oh, can't wait. The paper dolls are being released in 2 different ways now. They're being released in singles and in groups. Now, good and bad on that. It's good to have more groups because I don't know that there are enough groups, but also bad because apparently they're all the one size. There's none of the little tinny tiny ones anymore. So I'm a bit disappointed about that because I do love my tinny tiny ones and all different size ones. Now whether or not he'll keep the other packets going, I can't remember if he said. I was a bit excited, so I probably missed that when he said that, if he was going to keep them going or not. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I've got plenty of others to keep me going. Now, you lay these 2 down, and my cutting is a little bit out, so I probably have to trim because you need your score lines to meet. And I know I've used black, so it's not great in terms of score lines, is it? But anyway, I'm also going to use a ruler, a pencil. No, this is a pencil, I know that. You lay one here. Now, how I worked out what I was going to lay here was, I just drew a line so I knew where to put the thing on, the glue, the adhesive. It needs to be, so it goes from the score line here across there to where that score line on that next piece is. So these are the pieces that need the glue. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but I figured we'll just use this as the template. So one goes there and then one down here. And I thought that this would be really good as a journaling spot. So I'll do it out of some nice paper next time, and I'll cover it as, you know, in the next video. This is just a thought that I was having as I was putting it together, that, you know, it's meant for a card, but why not a journal spot that you can take out and then pop back into a pocket? It ends up as a 6 by 6 journaling spot. So now you need to put your, whatever you're using. Now I tried to use glue, and I must admit I found the glue was, probably me being impatient, a bit difficult because you probably need to let it dry a bit longer than what I let it dry. So you need glue in all those 4 spots. I'll just pop the rest of this down, and then you put it together, and that's it. Pretty easy when you know how, of course, and I'm sure if you prefer you can go and find other videos where people have done this and other websites. I had a quick look, and as I said, I found several, so they're not hard to find, but otherwise you can just watch me. And I thought it might be a really good share to then say, well, how do I use this in a junk journal? The other interesting thing that I found when I was watching Tim's ideology video was that he has started talking about junk journals and actually naming them. So a few years ago, or even a few months ago, I think, he wouldn't be saying the word junk journal, but now he is. He's talking about scrapbooking layouts, and he's talking about things that people have done that can be used as cards or in a junk journal. And he actually had a couple of junk journals that people had made. He has a lot of designers that work for him who he gives a new product to, and they make things. He actually had a number of people who'd made junk journals or things that could be used in junk journals. I found that interesting, that's a real sort of turning point, I think, because I'm not sure that he talked. I think he did, because he had a cloth junk journal at one point, and I think he did sort of acknowledge that there were junk journal makers around, but I don't think he's ever specifically talked about them. Now, this is a bit long for that, and that's a bit short, so I've cut that wrong. I'm wondering how I can get around that. Maybe I'll leave it the same size as it's meant to be, because it'll be easier to line up, and then I'll probably have to do a bit more burnishing. So put this down. So I put glue or tape in all four corners, just half, and put this down so that it lines up, and this one on the bottom, so that goes on that side vertically. These are horizontal. And then let's do the next one, and then I'll do some fix up after that. Look, this is only the second one I've made, so it takes me a little while sometimes. So, and really basic math with this one. 3 by 6, score at 4.5, and 1.5, and then 4.5, and you do them all the same. So you take this, you put it in 1.5, 4.5. You don't have to do it this way, and you do all four so that they turn into 3-inch squares. Couldn't be more simple, really. Now, let's just get this last bit of tape off here, and then this one fits down on here, so it needs to fit in the corner, but it also needs to nest, so it needs to sit right beside this one. And as I said, my scoring and cutting's not great with this. I'll just have to trim this down now, because that's not great, and using black paper was probably the worst decision, because it's hard to see where to cut. I think that might do. It's a little bit crooked. I'll see if it works first of all, and then I'll trim it. So this is the front, so I'll be doing some work on here to journal, or not this one, and then you turn it over and see what I mean. It's sort of like bouncy like that. So I have to burnish this down because it's not quite the right size. That's why it's probably bouncing around. And then you turn it up like this, and you've got the same issue, as that I need to burnish this a bit more. But the basic structure's there. I'm sure that you can follow along with this. The other thing I just noticed is, because these aren't quite the right size, they are overlapping a little bit. So I need to, make sure when I do it next time, I'm much more accurate with my cutting. So then it turns into this shape, and then you push it out again into the original shape. And because these are too close together, it's not working as well as what I thought I wanted it to. But we'll trim it off. This is just a trial. I like to show you my mistakes and all. Not everything is perfect, and I can see here, you probably can't, but my score line runs down here, and then it's off by about 2 mil on either side, and that's probably why it's not turning as well. So let's turn it up. You're meant to do it like this so it looks amazing, but it's struggling a little bit. And then this one goes up like that, so it forms a cross, and then over like this, so it opens back. So up, and it's called an infinity card because you can just do this, I guess, on and on and on like that. So it looks like we've got 1, let's count the surfaces, 2, 3, 4 different surfaces to work on. Now I wonder if that's actually true, because I'll get some stuff out ready for the next video if that's the case. So let's call this one here 1, 2, and let's call these A, because they're the little ones, B, C and D. So they're small ones. When I flip it, I shouldn't see any of those. So this will be surface 3, 4, E, F, G and H. turn it again, and what have I got? Oh, that's right, there you go, 5 and 6. Now we've got little ones here on the side, so this will be I, J, is that right? And then if you turn it again, see, when we turn it again, we've still got part of this one. So I have to make sure when I do something there that it's part, but I've also got, let's see, oh, I've got more here. So, well, maybe I'll call this little a, little b, little c, and little d, just so I know where I'm up to. And then back to the beginning. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I and J, but then these two also disappear. These ones and these ones, when you turn it this way, J and these two, I and J, stay in place, but those two disappear and you get these ones here. So that's quite a number of surfaces to be decorating. So that's what's coming up in the next video, and I'll get it right this time so it works. I mean, it basically, the structure works. You know how to do the structure now. I just have to be a bit more accurate, which isn't my strength, as you know, but we'll get there. So even somebody who doesn't have that sort of accuracy like me can make one of these, but I will try really hard to be more accurate next time. So I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you enjoyed the structure today that I've shown you to do that. Go and watch Tim's replay on YouTube of his new ideology release, and also the storage. If you've got any more questions about my new storage, then leave me a comment or send me an email. All the details are below in the description, so you can have a look at those. And I'd like to hear from you. Until next time, this is Deborah. Cheers.